Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there. This is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franze Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franze Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franze.
And welcome to The Jay Franze Show, where we take a deep dive into the entertainment industry to provide you with valuable insights and entertaining stories. Stories you won't find anywhere else. I'm your host, Jay Franze. On this episode, we'll talk with Vaughan and Dave Rhea, brothers and the founding members of the band Vonray. We'll discuss how they got their start and what the local scene was like. We'll take a deep dive into their self-titled debut album, and we'll hear about the struggles that come with signing a record deal. If you'd like to find out more about this episode, including photos, videos, and links, please visit jayfranze.com/episode 1. Now let's get started. Guys, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
It's so good to have you guys.
It's good to see you, bro. It's been a long time.
It has been a little while. While we talk about that, let's go ahead and just set the scene. It was what, late 90s in Orlando?
Yeah, we started early 90s, actually. We put our first little band together in 93 or 92, something like that. And then by the time we kind of dissolved out of that, we were doing that duo thing, just Dave and I at Scruffy's. That's where we met you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we were there. I believe your whole family was there, working the merch booth and stuff. I told Dave that before. I just love the fact that your mother was there.
Ma Ray, man.
I know, right?
Ma Ray, she was integral. It was Vonray, and then it was Vonray with Ma Ray. It was awesome. She was a great manager for the first probably 10 years. I mean, she was with us like through thick and thin. It was great.
No, she was wonderful. Loved talking to her. I would go to these bars. I would go to some shows where it was just your mother there, and things are being set up, and I get to talk to your mom, and just, it was amazing. She was just wonderful. So let's talk about some of the clubs on that one strip there. So what did you enjoy at that time about playing at those clubs?
Dave, what'd you like the most about Orange Avenue?
It has to be Sapphire Supper Club. Yeah. That was the place to be. That was where
it's called the Social now, right?
Social, yeah, but it was Sapphire back in the day.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was in our day, yeah.
Cool.
What they have, that big maroon curtain hanging in the back of the stage and everything.
Crushed velvet curtain. Yeah, that was awesome.
No, it was amazing. And I know we're talking about shows that, like Vaughn, you just mentioned you started off acoustically. Yeah. But it seemed to go fairly quick. That went from acoustic into a band.
It did.
How'd that happen?
Well, we went completely acoustic. I was doing stuff by myself for a while, and then we went with a band early, before we met you. It was the Vonray band. We played on Park Avenue. No.
Yeah, it was the Mill.
The Mill on Fairbanks. Yeah, and that was our first band gig. And we would go there and play as a 4-piece, do things like Torn and Tattered Dreams and Brothers and things that never made the cut as far as album-wise. And then we started doing a duo, Dave and I, and then we put together another band a little later. Yeah, I guess it was about 95, 96, something like that. We were doing duos. We were doing what? 4 gigs a week. Yeah. we were playing all the time, man.
You were on it.
And Dave was great, man, because he had gone through a journalism school, and he would put together our calendars, and they were elaborate, man. They would have all kinds of cool stuff all in the calendars, and Dave wrote all the stuff for the Vonray rag that we would put out every month or so. It was good, man. Good days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That lineup at the time when you guys started to form the band, can you tell me a little bit about that?
I guess the iteration you're talking about is Dave Tenney.
Yes.
And Dave Smith and Dave Rhea and me.
That's right.
Yeah, it was Vaughan and the 3 Daves, man. It was great.
The incarnation that preceded that one had Ben Tapia.
Tapia.
Like a lifelong friend. He was on guitar, and we had a guy named Kevin Kirkwood on the drums.
Kirkwood was something, man. He went on to go with you with Donovan.
Yeah, that's right. And then we basically formed Blue Meridian with that same band.
Yep.
And that was November 94, maybe?
That's right.
Donovan knows.
Yeah. 92, 93, we were Vonray. 94, 95, I was doing stuff kind of by myself for a little while, and then we started doing duo again. And you were still doing Blue Meridian.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
When you do go off and play with others, what's that like for the two of you, seeing that you're brothers? Is there any difficulty making that decision?
No, not really. I mean, I kind of played the same role in those bands as I did in Vaughn's band. I mean, I was never the prime mover in any of these bands. It was always Vaughn's band, and it was always Donovan's band. When I was with Dust for Life, it was their band. So it wasn't until I was out of the industry before I started producing my own stuff and basically writing my own songs from scratch.
I think Dave had a creative streak that had to do more stuff. When he would like move away from Vonray for a little while and go do something else, it was kind of like it was subliminal. I don't know, man. I just always thought he was one of the most creative dudes I ever met. So, he would write stuff that was like prolific. And a lot of the reason I was able to write good music was because Dave's lyrics would go, it would just present itself to me as that needs to be a song. And so that it was easy. So when Dave would take off and go do something else, I'd be like, well, he may be back. I'd be lucky if he comes back. And he would always come back. And it was because he had, because he's producing now. He sends me music all the time now, and I'm like,
I know he keeps telling me I'm going to be able to mix something, but nothing's come my way just
I'll
yet.
send you my stems.
Yeah.
And it's funny on the flip side of what Vaughan was saying about getting my lyrics to be able to write a poem, which was how it was back in the day. Like the earliest days, it was basically me just writing poetry, and I'd given him Shine, which is the first one, right, Vaughan?
Yeah. I thought about that about a week ago. I was like, damn, Shine is something, man.
and it's super cool, like to write something and then have him not only put it to music, but also come up with the melodies for the words and package it up in something that's way more palatable than reading something on a page.
Right.
So it was super cool. I think I enjoyed it more than he did.
Yeah. The thing about it is we fed each other. We totally fed each other the whole time. I mean, he didn't realize he was feeding me. I didn't realize I was feeding him, but we just kept producing together. So some of the coolest songs we have never made wax. They never made it on a real recording. And I mean, one day we got to sit down and make some of those happen, like Brothers. And I mean, Brothers is one of the things that always comes to my mind, and nobody knows that song. It's powerful.
Should fly in, man.
Yeah.
Come
on down to my studio, man.
We'll record. We'll send the stems to Jay, and then
There you go. That'd be awesome. Well, you mentioned that putting them down on wax. You guys did put out 3 albums before you went to the major label, and they were really good albums. I mean, I'm not talking about just okay demos. I mean, these are really good albums. So, how did that chemistry work going into those albums?
I think Pains was a hard one to finish up because we did it in 3 or 4 different studios. Hey, I got the Pains album right there, man.
The sacred real estate. Right,
you know what's crazy? Is there's those youngsters. Yeah, there it is, man. I can't believe you got a copy, bro.
Hey, I don't just have a copy. If you look there, it's a signed copy.
Oh, my God, you got a signed copy.
It's got to be worth something.
And you know what's crazy is all this was done, every single photograph, that photo, this photo, every photo in this entire thing was done in Tennessee. That right there is what we call Judge's Place, on the place where we grew up, is right by the Big Creek. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, I think Pains was easy to put together in one way and really hard in the technical way. It took us forever to put it together technically, but we had all those songs already written. half of them are Dave's lyrics, a quarter of them are Dad's lyrics, and one of them is my grandfather's lyrics, and the other quarter is my lyrics. So I mean, it was really easy to put together as far as material. But the process, Dave, this was done in one of the times you kind of took off for a little while, and I was doing it with, what is his name? Tim Coons.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was the guy that engineered the actual mix down and everything. And then Dave Smith came in and played some of the guitar. And then those two crazy brothers, they played a couple of the guitar licks and all the drums. So it was done in all these 3 or 4 different places. It was just hard technically to put it together. But the music was always there, Drinker's Hour.
No, that's an amazing song.
Dude, thank you. That song is probably one of the faves in Orlando, and it was the craziest thing because everybody would raise their drinks. It's like Drinker's Hour, and it's the darkest look at frickin' drinking. It's a dark look, man. It's a man that is just at his wit's end. But I think if you listen to the song any more than 3 times, you got the message, you know. But everybody was like, Drinker's Hour.
You guys put a video together for that song too, right?
I ended up putting a video later, man. It was a friend of mine named Dave Belis. I did a lot of audio for a video company, and he was the shooter, and he always wanted to do a Drinker's Hour video. So we did it, and it was good. It was done in Mount Dora.
Oh yeah.
The little bar is in Mount Dora where the guy, the wrestler guy, I don't know, Billy Badass or something like that from WWF or something, WWE or whatever. He's the bouncer, and it was all done at Belis's house. That's a sad video, bro. That's all my children in that video too. I mean, watching Livy leave, it's like, Daddy, kills me, man.
Hey, what was the video that we did that had the guy that played Roscoe P. Coltrane?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that was I'll Show You.
Yeah.
That wasn't that. He wasn't in it.
He wasn't in it, but we were there. Yeah.
It was done at his house. Yeah. Roscoe P. Coltrane. Yeah, we did that video at his house. That never saw the light of day either. That version.
It's a tough time.
The live version was the one that everybody saw on YouTube. What was the guy's name that did the video? He wasn't American. He was the producer of the video, and he was a freaking drunk, and he couldn't keep his shit together. He couldn't get a storyline going. I was like, well, why don't we tell this story about a young guy falls in love with this girl, and then we show him as an older guy. He couldn't make it happen. And it just looked like just a trash video. It was awful. Anyway. Yeah. So the early stuff, Dave's lyrics were all over the first and the second album.
And that was Pains and Vonray.
The only freaking lyrics that made it to the freaking Elektra album was Unstoppable Wave. And I don't understand why that was. It was a Mark Tanner thing.
Yeah. Well, we had the letter on there.
The letter was the best, man. That music, bro, that's the most groundbreaking music on the whole freaking. As far as like the bassiness of that guitar work, that was groundbreaking stuff.
That song, it just has this meat to it. It's just growly and cool. And I was going to say to Dave, it's got one of the best bass lines. That bass line is awesome. And if I can tell, I believe you're playing it with a pick, but it's just awesome.
Well, the instrument that we were playing on that is a Dan Electro 6-string bass
guitar,
but it's strung like a regular guitar. It's just like all these wound strings, and I'm playing it in drop D, and it's going.
Oh yeah,
and he had always played it on a 6-string.
Yeah,
you'd always played that on a regular guitar. And then when they put that in your hands, you were like, whoa, I got some balls.
Well, it's just so mean and beefy sounding. And it just has this, it's just like a roll to it, like a train's coming through.
Yeah.
It does, man. I'm telling you, that was one of the most groundbreaking musical pieces on that entire freaking album, man. I got to tip my hat to you for that, Dave. And remember, I had to battle the engineer forever for that. Remember the Creep Remember Creep? The song Creep that, Radiohead, when they went chunk, chunk, right before it went into the, and exactly. So I wanted that. And he was like, oh, no, we can't do that. I was like, no, you got to freaking do that, man. I feel it, And so finally he did it. It went chunk, free me. I was like, that's what it needs, man. It needed a launch.
I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I drive around. I listen to the record in the car with my daughter, and she likes the part where it comes up and it's just, yeah. So, I mean, that's become something that it pops up in conversation all the time at this point. Yeah.
The best yeahs were done in pre-production.
Oh, really?
The yeahs that were on the album, on an Elektra album, I was like, God, I wish we could have just taken the yeahs from the pre-production and put them on the real production, because they were much sexier and cooler, man. It was really much better. If that makes any sense. It's such a small part of the song.
Well, I know, but it's powerful. I mean, it's something you remember.
It's a thought process. Yeah, you're just sitting there going, "Oh my God, what just happened in my life?" Yeah, the letter is a deep tune, man.
Oh, it's amazing tune.
Yeah, it's a cool song. And I remember I came up with those lyrics literally within just a couple of hours. Remember Mark Tanner? He took a lot of the freaking credit for a lot of the lyrics that I would come up with. Remember we did all that pre-production, and he was like, "Okay,
oh yeah,
I get about a third of that." I was like, "Dude, you didn't write jack shit of that."
For those that don't know, he was the producer of the record.
Yeah, the producer, Mark Tanner, an incredible guy. As soon as we get onto that thought process, I want to tell you his process of doing the production. It was literally magic. It was so good.
Actually, Mark died last year.
A year ago, yeah.
Oh, really?
There was a session guy that we were using in the studio named Bob Glob, super famous LA session cat that came in and played pretty much all of the bass on the record. And one of our attorneys at my firm that I work at now, he had a pre-64 Fender P bass that he was trying to sell for a friend of his who had died. He's trying to sell it for his friend's surviving wife. This is like a $15,000 guitar probably. And I was like, I know one guy who may want that, or at least know somebody that did. So I called Bob Glob, one of the only guys I still have contact with from that life. And he didn't want it, but he did tell me that Mark Tanner had passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's, I didn't know that's how you found out.
Yeah.
Cause you were the way I found out. You told me he passed away, and I immediately went on and bought one of his albums right away.
Yeah.
I sent you that photo.
I have one of his albums that I bought somewhere on Sunset Strip or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I brought it back to the studio, and I was like, look, Mark, I found your record. You have to sign this. And he's like, oh.
He was an artist as well, but that was back in the 70s and early 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was totally. He had the REO Speedwagon hair. Hell, he had that when he died. He was a great dude, man.
It seemed like right before you guys get signed and right after your independent albums, you had 2 singles come out that never really saw the light of day. I mean, I have a copy of them here, but it's Pow and Just Waking Up, produced by John Kurzweg.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Creed guy.
Yeah. So how did that come about? And was that some sort of test for the label, or was it some introduction for the label?
Well, we were already paired off with Jeff Hansen at the time. He was our manager, right?
Right.
And were we trying to go? Is that when we were still trying? No, that was with Harrington. Sorry. So many facets.
We were with Harrington at the time. That's right. And then he's the one that paired us. And then we left Harrington right away. Remember?
Yeah.
You didn't like him.
It was supposedly to be a shoe-in because Harrington management out of Atlanta, who was our management at the time, was also manager of Edwin McCain, who was on Lava Atlantic, and also Matchbox 20 was on Lava Atlantic, who were old homeboys from Orlando
as well.
And so to get us up, we went up to play Mercury Lounge in New York City as a showcase, and he passed on us. But in all logic, that should have been the point that we got signed.
It should have been, yeah, but we didn't have the Fame album out yet.
Right.
The Fame album's what got us signed. Kirkpatrick with Elektra. Yeah. The Fame album's what got us signed. What's crazy about that album is that it's so almost brittle to your ears, but it's easy to listen to because the songs are good, and the production value is way different from anything we had ever done. I mean, because it was Brett Hessler from Orlando. He was with Virgos Merlot, and then he went and played with Creed while Marshall, the bass player for Creed, he had some drug problems. So while we were touring with Creed, Brett Hessler was playing the freaking bass for Creed. It was the craziest thing. You run into all kinds of craziness out there on the road, but he's the one that produced that thing. And we would go, this was while Dave was actually with Dust for Life, and they were kicking ass out there. So I was like, I'm just going to put a freaking album together, cause I had been working with another dude, on guitar. What was his name? Chuck Shea.
Chuck Shea. Yeah.
Chuck Shea. Good guitar player, man. Incredible guitar player. Chuck Shea. Yeah. So we decided to go ahead and go in the album and do a complete album. We did 2 songs where Chuck Shea actually played guitar, and the rest of the 8 or 9 songs, Brett did everything except for the acoustic guitar and vocals. And then we did that all within about 2 weeks. The entire Fame album, every night I would go in at 6 p.m. and I would leave out at 6 a.m.
Did Jeff Hansen arrange that for you with Brett?
No, it actually, I actually made that happen. This was after, because man, it's so hard to keep the time frame up. But
such a crazy
we
time.
we were with Jeff Hansen for a little while, and then we kind of left because we didn't make that thing with what's his name happen with Edwin McCain. I think that he was busy working with Dust for Life. He was hot on Dust for Life. And so I went and did this kind of thing independently. And then I got a lot of sniffing around from different record labels. And Elektra was the one that was like, I remember Matt Albers was like, hey, Elektra's coming in. They're coming in to look at you. And I'll never forget that show. Remember that show at the Sapphire where we knew that Elektra was coming? You were fresh off the road with Dust for Life.
Yeah.
And you had just come back in, and we had honed everything down. We'd got it all down. And yeah, that was a magic night, man. That was crazy.
If I had a time machine, I would go back to those days to be like that band, because Orlando was such a scene back in those days.
Scene, man.
And everybody was just stacked up in line to get signed, basically.
Oh yeah. Matchbox 20, Sister Hazel.
Yeah, they kept telling us that. Every time we would go on any radio station, they would be like, "This is the next band out of Orlando," because they had seen it over and over and over again. With what's crazy is music, man. Think about it. Music is literally the closest thing to a time machine we've got. It's like the music that we've done, you and I, Dave. Our great-great-grandchildren will be able to not only enjoy it, but they'll be able to feel a lot of the emotion. I mean, I listened to some of the old stuff on this album, and I hear my dad and my grandfather, Ignorant Hearts. I mean, Ignorant Hearts, dude, that was done in 1932. It was written as a poem. And I can take that song and put it on, and I can see my grandfather's face, who I didn't even really know. He died when I was 3. But that's the kind of weird thing, that the emotional connection that music has with the human existence has. I mean, art has it also, but I mean, there's nothing like music, dude. I mean, it's just something to certain people. It is that kind of connection,
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Like music embodies you when you listen to it.
It really, some people it does, bro. Some people, remember some of our fan base? I mean, they would stand in line, a band that's not signed, nothing's really going on with them. Yet they would stand in line by the hundreds at Hard Rock Live just to get a T-shirt signed and an album. That's what the music did.
What the hell's wrong with people?
What the hell's wrong with people, right?
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because when I first met you guys, you were playing in the bar acoustically. I saw Vaughn. I saw you a lot of times, even at Disney, playing acoustically.
Yeah.
But it started to pick up, forming a band and all that. But it seemed like in no time, I don't know if people understand, like the House of Blues was a massive size venue in Orlando. And you guys were playing it, and the line was going around the corner. So what was that like for that to happen to you that quickly?
To me, it was wild, man. it was all slow motion to me because we had seen the lines go around the corner at Sapphire. We had done the Beecham, and what was it? The place next to Planet Pizza. What was that called?
Barbarella.
Yeah, Barbarella. We
Yeah.
did Barbarella one time, and when we did Barbarella, I'll never forget, man. It was like you'd have thought somebody big came to town. It was very strange. And it was literally a year ago, I was across the street in Scruffy Murphy's playing to 20 people. But you're right about that. It seemed fast. It seemed fast. But at the same time, when it's a day-to-day thing, with the Hard Rock Live and the House of Blues, we played there so often. We would get tickets for free. Remember that, Dave? We would get tickets.
Yeah.
They would give us like, okay, here's 50 tickets for you. Here's 50 tickets for you. And we would give them out. So it's like these people, a lot of the times those people didn't have to pay for those tickets, but yet they would show up. A lot of times you get a free ticket, you don't show up. When you pay for something, you always show up. So it was kind of cool, man. I think that the music started speaking for itself. And you know how networks go. It's like, when something becomes cool, it just becomes cool. Now, I'm not saying we were cool. I'm just saying that when the network, when the network of people start to think that something's cool, they'll start gravitating toward it, and you get more crowds. And it did go fast after that, though. I got to admit, man, when we got signed, and then all of a sudden, we got signed right at 9/11. There was October 16th, I signed the contract.
Ooh.
September 2001 was the 9/11. So it had just happened, and the entire industry had shut down. So I signed a contract September, October. 1 month after September 11th, when no one was signing contracts. Everyone had shut down. And for some reason, we got through. We squeaked through and signed a contract with Elektra. And that was kind of a miracle thing to me, because literally a month ago, the Twin Towers came down and the entire industry shut down. So Dave and I have seen this whole industry change from internet, what the internet did to music, to what 9/11 did to music. It's like the growing pains have almost been like unbearable, right, Dave?
Yeah.
When we were going through it, we were like, we can feel the change as we're doing this freaking album.
It was a strange time. I mean, there was Napster, there was no iTunes. There was just this great disturbance in the force.
There was, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We could all feel it.
Yeah. The vibe of being in Orlando at that time. And I try to explain it to people around me now who know that my kids are into music, and they're like, "Oh, you think they're going to sign a record deal?" And my sort of stock answer is that was a specific place and a specific time, and it was the whole market was just crawling with A&R guys because of Matchbox 20 and Creed and Seven Mary 3 and all those guys that had signed. And so even if we were twice as good as we were, and we were in some town like, Oklahoma City or even further flung, it wouldn't be quite so easy, I don't think.
Yeah, dude, what I mean? You're absolutely right.
It was
the electricity.
Perfect time in a perfect
place. There is an electricity in the air. You could literally feel it back in the early 2000s and 1999 through 2003. Yeah.
Orange Avenue is just like Sunset Strip to local bands,
Yeah.
And you'd walk around and if you were like us, like an heir apparent type band or somebody who had already signed, it's like being it's weird. It's like being as close as I've ever felt to being a celebrity before.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Perceive you as having made it.
You've done it.
And they want to be around you and they want to be part of what's going on.
They're almost throwing other people's success onto you and going, you can do this too, or something like that. It's very strange, but you're right. Yeah. It's an electricity in the air. It's not like for everywhere, unless you're just like a freaking Dave Matthews or somebody that's just done it for 20 years out of the trunk of your car or something. There's certain places like, remember Seattle? I mean, in the late 90s, it was Seattle. Everybody was just coming out of Seattle. And then Orlando was a little tiny thing like that. It was
a
really,
scene,
it was
for
really
sure.
hot. It was a scene. It was a
You
scene.
got the guys from Axis Magazine. It
Yeah.
was like the local Village Voice kind of vibe, and
After the
and all these
Jam
clubs.
magazine, right?
Sapphire was the local Viper room, basically.
Exactly. It was a little local, whiskey.
It was
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about it now. When you guys signed onto the label, there was a change in band members, and it seemed like there was a change in style. So as we talk about this new album, can we start with how that came about? How did the change in band members and style come about?
Man, everything kind of changed for me. Mentally, I started losing a lot of interest in the whole game once the industry got involved, because there was a lot of pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling. There was some pushing of members. This person looks too old, or this, and that was even before Elektra. We ended up getting rid of Dave Tenney, one of the best drummers in Orlando, and it was because of his, it was his age, and that wasn't an easy thing to do. When we signed up with Elektra, it's kind of a sore situation, because Dave was finishing up college when the contract was signed. So it's hard to talk about sometimes. It's hard to talk about, because there's a lot of shit that I wish didn't go down the way it did. And if I could do it again, I would do it differently. Luckily, everything kind of started to play out. And the thing that probably made me the happiest was when I went to Dave's graduation, and I didn't get what he was doing. His on the top of his graduation cap, he put the Elektra E on there. That was the right. The E that was turned sideways and kind of cockeyed.
Right.
And he put that on his thing, and I literally welled up once I figured out what the heck he was doing, because I didn't get it at first, and when I did, it was because I knew it was kind of a launching point for what we were going to go through for the next two or 3 years. So when it happened, I did most of the writing and stuff, and then we went into pre-production, and Dave came in and did a lot of the pre-production with us. So he had a lot of say in what went down in the direction we went. As far as he worked really, really well with Craigie, the guy that helped us fashion together the pre-production that created the Elektra album.
Yeah, we did that at Roscoe's studio.
Yeah, Roscoe's studio, right there in Deltona.
That's right.
Yeah,
what was it? Homegrown studio?
Homegrown Studios, man. It's no more.
It smelled like a dispensary.
Yeah.
It was before its time.
That's right.
Yeah.
It wasn't medical back then.
That's right. So from pre-production on, man, things started to kind of gel again. And, Dave was there. He was part of it. And we were throwing stuff down on wax that was keepable, and we liked it. And we all kind of agreed, but production and producers and engineers, they have a tendency to kind of guide you in a direction. And it's tough to fight that stuff. When you're young and getting into the industry, you've got to trust the people around you that have done it over and over and over. And Mark Tanner had just come off of, what was the name of it, Dave?
Man, I wish I could remember.
Oh, it's a number one for 30 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it was a good one.
He had a song, The Calling. The Calling.
Yeah.
They had a number one hit for freaking ever. It had broken records. And so here's this guy that's coming in to do our album. And of course, that jades the entire situation. He's going to make us sound more like what that was. The industry just cookie cuts crap, man. It's hard to deal with. But I got to tell you a story about how he worked. Going from pre-production into real production, when we went to LA and we went to Cello Studios, Mark Tanner had this machine, and it was the most amazing thing. It was kind of to make things go faster. instead of recording a lyric or a phrase or a line or an entire song and then going back and doing it again and again, he would have me sing the thing 4 times. And he had this machine that had an A, B, C, and D on it. And I would sing the entire song through. And then I would sing the entire song through again. That would be B. And then I would do C. And then I would do D. And he would sit there and I would watch him play me like an instrument. He'd hit A, and B would suck, so he'd go to C, and he'd go to D, and he'd go to A, then he'd go, so phrase by phrase or line by line. It wasn't literally phrase by phrase, but he would literally go from A to C to D to A to B to D, and then there would be the honing process once he got it to a point where he played me like an instrument, and then he'd go, okay, there's this phrase in the song that doesn't work. So I've got this A, B, C, D, and it goes all the way through the whole song. And then he's got this X over top of these phrases. That's freaking amazing. And he said it was like one of 2 in the entire country. Remember that, Dave?
Yeah.
He was like, this machine. He would show it to us. Oh, no,
LA. Hey, man.
Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. But he was so proud of this little machine. And he said, there's only like 2 or 3 of these in the US. But the precision, when he would hit from A to C, it would literally be seamless. And it would be like I would sing it the first time and the third time, but it would be completely seamless. That is industry magic there. You know, I know that everybody uses, what do you call that?
Pro Tools and Auto-Tune.
Auto-Tune. We used no Auto-Tune at all. But we did use the crap out of that ABCD machine that he had.
Well, that's funny. I know I've worked in Nashville for years, and we use Pro Tools and comp vocals very similar to what you're saying, just in the computer.
Yeah,
so to do it live and play it like an instrument is amazing. I like that.
The crazy thing is he was doing it on the 2-inch tape before it went to Pro Tools. I would sing it to 2-inch tape, and he would play it, and then it would go into Pro Tools. He was big on the 2-inch tape. He was he was all about that warmth, you know, that. We did the whole A studio. We did the drums and the bass and everything in the big, airy, you know, a lot of room reverb. And we'd do all that on 2-inch tape. And then we did all the vocals on 2-inch tape. Only thing we did on straight to Pro Tools was guitar. That was it. We were in this transition period, bro. You know what I mean? We were in this transition period technically, as far as like everybody does everything straight to Pro Tools these days. Back then, you know, we're talking 2000. So
right. But that studio is known as being one of the best in the world for the sound of the room. So just the fact that you're able to go there and record your first album is amazing.
It was crazy.
I know Mark, he worked with Cheap Trick and Eddie Money. I mean, he's worked with some of these names. So when you go in there, you've got to feel like you've finally hit it. You hit a milestone at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to see all the celebrities that were there while we were there, like Tom Petty was down the hall, Weezer, Wilco was there, Audio Slave, the Stone Temple Pilots guys would come in and take pictures with goobers like us and Flea. It was crazy. I kept feeling like we were going to get thrown out because we were the only non-celebrities there. Like, hey, what are you guys doing here? You know,
we were paying good money to be there, bro.
I remember sitting in the green room one time, and there's like the big, we were in the A room, which is the big giant room. You could literally have an orchestra in there, and we were doing bass and drums.
Doing drums and bass. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting in this little interstitial area where they have bagels and coffee and couches and stuff. And I'm sitting in there alone. All of a sudden the door opens and it's Mark Gorman, the drummer from the Black Crowes. And he just opens the door and he goes, "Hey man, do you know where Rick Rubin is?" I'm like, And he goes, "Thanks." And he shuts the door, and I'm sitting there thinking, God, man, what just happened?
That's like a crazy dream or something.
Steve Gorman. Sorry, it's Steve Gorman.
Exactly. Steve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, we were sitting there looking at the albums on the wall, and of all people, Dean DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots, the guitar player of our time, comes up behind us and just kind of puts his arms around us, goes, "A lot of history," or something like that. It was like beyond it. Dave and I both looked over and we're like, "Holy crap!"
It was crazy.
It was awesome. Crazy.
I tell people stories these days, and about halfway through the story, I'm just sitting here thinking, man, they probably think I'm.
They think I'm crazy.
He's lying.
Okay, make up something else and tell us.
One story. Tom Petty was coming down. I had just left the bathroom. You have to go up the stairs to go to the bathroom. But I saw that Tom Petty was going back up to the bathroom. I had already pissed. So I turned around and went back up the stairs just so I could piss right next to Tom Petty. And you know what I did? I pissed in the urinal right next to Tom Petty. So I was like, and I looked over at him. I was like, what's up, man? And that's all we did. But that was enough. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy. He was there, not with the Wilburys. He was
doing the last American DJ or last DJ record.
Yeah, because he was with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. The Heartbreakers were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was doing the last Heartbreakers album there at Cello.
With Dracalius on production.
Exactly. And he was just,
they were
crazy. Just doing some follow-up tracks. They were just doing guitar stuff. They had already done all their man, I got so many stories for there. Remember you took the picture of me and Flea? Remember that he came in on his Buell, his bike, his motorcycle.
Yeah.
And you took the photo of me and Flea together.
I got the picture right over there. But it's me and Flea. You want me to grab it?
Yeah, you know what? I've got one of me and Flea. We were like, hey, right. can we change? Here,
I remember like going, hey, do you mind if we take a picture with you after he's being super cool? Because I think that once you're in the gate at Cello, you're pretty much golden, right? And we're sitting there like, pointing at him and stuff. We just pulled in on our rented Kia Sophia or whatever the hell we were driving. and so he rides his bike over and goes, hey, do I know you guys? Beautiful. Yeah. And we're like, no, but we know who you are. So eventually I asked him if he would take a picture and he was like, he kind of like went, all right.
He was a shorty, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how short that dude was.
He's a giant.
When you guys were in that studio, do you know which room you were in? Was it the SSL room or the Neve room?
Man, it was the Neve room. We went from A to B to C. We went from room to room to room because we were recording different things with different engineers.
Yeah. And that A room was the Neve, but it was 248 track boards. So it was 96 wide.
Oh my God.
Man.
It's a beautiful board too.
It was beautiful, bro. Yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah. So we did all the stuff on the 2-inch tape all the way through the bass guitar and vocals we did on 2-inch tape. But what's his name that did the guitar work? They came in with that Norwood pedal thing.
Michael. We should have the record here. We could just read that. Read it up.
So this guy came in and he had a rig that was just beyond. He had guys to bring his rig in. And he brought in, I think it was he had an orange and he had a Marshall and he had all these different tones, but he had this pedal and I had never seen one of these before, but it's like seeing a car that you've never seen before. Once you see it or own it, you see them fucking everywhere. It's like everybody has your car, So this Norwood pedal, I kept seeing these on stage after I saw Mike's. He came in and literally did all the guitar work, all the lead guitar work and everything in just 2 days. Remember, he was in and out.
Yeah.
Studio cats, man.
And we had the backup singer with no eyebrows.
Oh, that guy. Hey, if you listen to Stranded, all right, so right before when you hit that boom, don't think you left me. So right there, boom. As soon as that hits, there's a high pitch that sounds like a guitar. It's not a guitar. It's a freaking dude guy with no eyebrows. He sings so high and so powerful that
what was his name? I wish I had a record because
I'm getting excited about this because I haven't thought about these people forever.
Oh, that's funny.
That is funny, man. That is awesome.
So all this is to say that we get to avoid our midlife crises because we don't feel like we missed a lot,
I don't have to bungee jump.
No FOMO.
I don't have to do any of that shit,
Yeah, I'm not
no Kilimanjaro.
Anyway.
Hey, we actually, right before we went on tour, we were practicing in the same building as AC/DC.
Oh,
that's right.
And we would stop our practice completely. and we would sneak out the door, go
Just
down
to
one
listen.
door, and we
Yeah.
would sit there with our ears to the door going, holy shit.
That was
he
at
sees
SIRS in New York,
Sir,
right?
SIR.
Yeah, it was like,
And they were in town doing the stiff upper lip video.
that's right. And they were so good. He was singing full freaking voice in practice.
For his practice.
Yeah.
crazy.
And I was like, how does he do that? Who does
You
he
just
got
wanna get as
swinging
close
on
to
his
the
nuts
door,
to make
like-
that happen? You know, it's just crazy. I got to tell one more story about the studio. When we were there, it's the first time I ever saw one of those Mercedes-Benz boxy SUVs. You see them
Oh, yeah.
everywhere now, but
G-Series.
this one had the steering wheel on the right, and it was freaking Eric Clapton. I don't know if he had that thing flown in. I don't know. Remember, there was the black. There
Yeah.
was a black Mercedes-Benz out back, and he had
SUV,
come in to do a tribute album for some blues guy, and he was doing a couple of tracks. But I'll never forget. We'd be cool about it, but we would go by the studio. And we would look in the window, and I never forget. He had Chuck Taylors. Is that it? Is that the Converse?
Yeah, the Converse.
Chuck
Yeah.
Taylor?
Chucks.
He
canvas.
had Chucks. They were plaid. They were this plaid color. And when I saw him wearing those, I searched for 2 freaking days to find some freaking Chuck Taylors that looked like his, and I couldn't find them. But that was the kind of thing. I was starstruck only by him and Tom Petty. So starstruck that we started calling the best of, if we could find really, 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 really good weed,
It was Tom Petty.
it was called Tom Petty. That's right. Hey, you got any Tom Petty?
Hey, you got any Tom Petty, man? You got to go listen to some Tom Petty?
Everybody knew what that meant in our circle. It's like, it's
Right.
like,
Well, the story behind that, and now that weed is practically legal now, we're sitting there in the green room again, probably the same one. And,
Yep.
and the little guy that comes in to give you, make sure that you've got creamers and the coffee's good and all that. And we're like, hey, man, we just flew in from Florida. And you can't fly with weed. I guess it was like
Tom
post
Petty here?
9/11. And I was like, can you get us some weed? And he was like, well, I'll look around. So he ended up coming back a little bit later and he goes, well, Tom Petty's road manager has some, but it's incredibly expensive. And I think we bought like a joint for like $50 or something.
so
Yeah,
that's
but
where
it
Tom
just
was
Petty
the
came
best
from.
thing. I don't think
Yeah,
you could get
so-
better weed from Willie Nelson.
So Ma Ray and Hope were calling it Tom Petty from now until doomsday. I think that when they make fun of people smoking weed, they still use the term Tom Petty.
It's the code, man.
It is the code. It's the code in the Vonray circle.
So when you were in the studio and you're working with Mark now, was he influencing the change enough to change your chord progressions or the feel of your vocal or anything like that?
He didn't change anything like that. He kind of changed. Know My Name was Hole on the album. You'll recognize this. Hole and Know My Name on Fame. Hole on Elektra and Know My Name on Fame is the same chord progression. He didn't like that whole Know My Name thing. He didn't like the way it was written or anything. So I just went to work and wrote new lyrics, and we changed the whole feel of it. And only people that own both albums will know that. And he didn't change. You'll notice that when I sang on Fame and I sang on Elektra album, it's the same. It's the same kind of projection and everything. He never told me to tone that down. All my acoustic stuff is the same. The thing that wasn't the same was all these cats that he would bring in. I mean, these guys, he would bring in Bob Glaub, and he would bring in Michael, and he'd bring in this guy with no eyebrows, and he'd bring in all these people, man. And they knew what they were doing in their world, but it hurt my heart a bit. I wasn't able to bring hardly anybody in. That's the worst part about the industry, man, is because if they've got their eye on the prize, if they think they've got their shit together, your shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're gonna finesse you, and if they have to strong arm you, they have to strong arm you. But they usually finesse you into believing. They're very good at that.
Yeah,
And,
I can see
And I
that.
think deep down, they were trying to get something that was commercially viable. Those guys are experts at what they do. And I remember talking to Mark about Bob being there, and I was like, hey, why can't I play these bass parts, and he was like, man, playing on a record is way different than playing live, and you can jump and you can spit and you can do all your stuff that you do on stage, but on record you have to have the exact same attack and the exact same everything, and as disappointing as it was at the time to not do those parts, I got to know Bob Glob, and I got to, and he ended up letting me play a little bit. He was like, he'd tell Mark, I don't know why you're not letting this guy play. But so the parts that I did play, I was able to play on his Bob Glob signature Lakeland bass. And I've got this, Obi-Wan Kenobi figure in my life forever now, Yeah. I love Bob Glob, and I love that I know even who he is, because he is unbelievably the real deal.
He was Creedence guy that they would go to for their album stuff. He would play on Creedence. He would play on.
Rod
he
Stewart,
played on Rod Stewart. Yep.
I mean, he is the real deal.
I wish I had the same relationship. I didn't take it the same way. I mean, it was hard for me to. I mean, I'm a Libra, bro. I don't want any flack. So it was tough for me. Talking, I had the same conversation with Mark, and he was like, I don't know, man. It was a strange situation. I didn't like the situation at all for a little while. That's what kind of put a bad taste in my mouth from the very beginning. And once you get a bad taste in your mouth about the industry in general, it's hard to get it out. No matter how good or bad things are, you're always doing those shows, you're touring and you're doing the radio shows and all the things. And you've always got that in the back of your head, that, they kind of screwed me. Even though I jumped from one in a million class into another 1 in a million class to another 1 in a million class. I kept doing that. But in the very end, I didn't have what I thought I should have, which was my brother and certain people that should have been there in a bigger capacity. So, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is. And, you got to just, again, I'm not bungee jumping because Dave and I had our
that experience
foray into the rock and roll industry. So,
yeah.
I've worked in Nashville for 20 years, and I see that with the studio musicians, and it seems okay because you're typically working with a singer, you're not working with a band. So when you're working with a band, I can absolutely see how that could, make things a little harder. And
it makes it harder for engineers, producers, and all that, but it really makes it hard on the band as far as like that singer. Somewhere along the line, he's been a little bit emotionally injured by you taking away his band.
Right.
There's certain people that are like that. Some people aren't. I mean, I had to put on a good face about it all. I had to play the game because I had just been dealt a hell of a hand, but at the same time, things just,
Well, even in Nashville, you got the country artists like Tim McGraw had to fight years later to use his live band on a recording.
Yeah. And believe me, that guy had much more hand than I did. It's crazy. Once you're in there and you have A&R people around you and different people talking to you and stuff, it's just like, I mean, it's some good stories. I love the A&R rep guy when he talked about, remember when they talked about I'll Be by Edwin McCain, how he came in there and it was a magic situation. Dave, you remember they were talking about the Atlantic guys and stuff about Edwin, and also Matchbox, Rob Thomas. Yeah. Rob went to bat for Paul Duchette. He went to bat for that guy. He was like, dude, I am not freaking moving without my drummer.
Right.
And he ended up with 2 new guitar players, but he kept Paul, and but I think I think he had a lot of hand as well. I mean, that guy, you see where he is now. They knew what they had with him. So,
well, the guys they formed for you guys, I mean, it was a great band. But, the band before was great too.
I can finally listen to it. I used to pick apart this album. I used to pick this album apart so much because I was such a perfectionist at one time. And now I can listen to it and go, oh man, that's great. Oh damn, that's Dave's lyrics. Oh man, that's my dad's lyrics. You know, it's great.
And the cool thing is, aside from all the recording and business part of it, we get to tour and play all the shows, play all the cities. You know, I mean,
do you remember hitting Nashville and all our buddies just showing up?
Oh yeah, I was just going through a shoebox full of pictures.
Yeah.
And yes, we're old enough to have shoebox full of pictures.
Yes.
And I was like sorting through them because I actually reconnected with my old roommate from London back in like 92 or something.
Yeah.
And so Facebook's good for something. So I'm going through these pictures trying to find my London pictures. And I found this, it was, probably 15 or 20 pictures from that night with all
Bubba and Jack.
Yeah. And Susan and Dad were there, and Mandy and Martha were there. It was awesome.
Yeah. It was like this levity in the entire tour. You go from city to city to city. You don't know anybody. And you're lucky when you hit a place like Portland where you don't know anyone there, but they know all your lyrics. Portland or Seattle, those places where you can't get any further away from Orlando than Portland. And they know they know you. It's like almost like they know you. And then finally you work your way back down and you hit Nashville, and there's all your friends and your buddies, and they all come out from the hills of Tennessee and they come to see you. It's awesome.
Well, I knew you guys from Orlando, and I ended up moving out of Orlando up to New York, and I opened up a recording studio there, and I was working for a few years, and all of a sudden I saw that you guys were playing in Albany, New York.
Nice.
So I drove up to Albany and got to see you there. And I mean, it was just amazing to see you guys in a different place than Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah. You used to watch us. Did you ever go to the Sapphire?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
All the time.
I thought you guys, I thought you were an earlier and then you had moved away. So you went through the Sapphire days.
I went through everything up to the signing.
Did you ever go to Devaney's?
Oh, that's long ago.
Over on University Drive.
That was our very first iteration of Vonray.
That was like pre-mill days.
We actually have some videos of that. It was all done on high 8 or something,
We'd play that place all the time, and I would get shit-faced. And then one night about, a year later, Vaughan goes, "Hey, it's Dave's 21st birthday." And the guy that owns the place is like,
"What?"
Hey.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my God. 3 years in. Yeah. 2 years later, you turned 21 finally. This is the guy that would get shit-faced every night. That's great.
Yes.
You mentioned engineers, and you guys actually got your album mixed by Chris Lord-Alge.
Yes.
Always been one of my favorite engineers. Did you actually get to go in the studio, work with him? So what was that like?
Yeah, I worked closely with Chris, man. It was great. He kept playing me the POD stuff that he had just produced. I was like, holy crap. Right. Can you make us sound like that? No, so he was like, I love doing POD, but I really love your stuff. And I was like, you're just like all the
7,000
Yeah, you
albums.
say that to everybody. But you know what was cool? After he completely mixed it down, he would give me like a song or two, and he would give it to me on a disc, and he would go, "All right, go listen to this." And at the time, which was cool, Elektra let me have a convertible red Mustang, and I was peeling down Pacific Coast Highway, listening to my own shit, completely mixed by Chris Lord-Alge. And I was just, it was a good time. It was a good time. But when we were done, Mark Tanner and Chris Lord-Alge went in together and got me a cake. And they were like, "We're done." And it had a little candle on it. And they gave me the cake, and it had a picture of there was a Vonray logo or something on it. And it had a candle on it.
Designed by your wife, wasn't it?
It was designed by Emma. Yep. The first Vonray VONRA was designed by her. I think I came up with the idea and Emma kind of put it together. But all the stuff on the top and the bottom, that was done by Elektra. Makes us look like we're from
Al Jazeera or something.
Middle East. Yeah, exactly.
It does kind of have that look to it.
It does. It's got that kind of feel to it.
Referring to Chris Lord-Alge, ironically now I'm trying to produce my own music, and it's been a vertical learning curve, and it's been very, very frustrating to get anything to sound decent at all until I discovered Chris Lord-Alge's
plugins.
CLA Waves plug-in pack, and now it's just like the easy button.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Dude,
Crystal Analogy.
it was freaking night and day, man. You sent me the same song, and you sent it to me the second time. We were out camping. It was Thanksgiving. You sent it to me on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Good God, dude!
Well,
you went on some kind of
What happened?
crazy
also,
learning curve, man."
I keep sending those same MP3s to Brian Robertson, who is our old sound guy and tour manager.
Right.
And
Hoping
he's like,
to hear something back.
What you got to do is like pan them all the way, like record twice. Don't double it. Record twice and pan them all the way. And I do that. And I'm like, hey, now, or dump the 100 hertz or whatever down, so you can pop your bass in there. Out of your kick, and you can put your guitar in there.
Your stuff is extremely listenable. Not only is it well written and well put together and well, I mean, I know you don't have second verses for any of that shit, but man,
that shit will always come.
It's so good, man. Yeah, second verses are easy once you get enough people going, oh yeah, that's
I like to write one verse and one chorus, and then fully produce the song, and then write the rest of the song.
Yeah, write the rest of the song. Yeah, that's the juice it takes.
But it's been fun to be able to kick back to Vaughan these songs that I've been writing from scratch, you know?
Yeah. The crazy thing is the last few songs you've sent me, I remember hearing the music to that. You had the idea behind that literally 2 years ago. And it's so cool to watch it just come full circle. And you actually put a melody line over it. And that one tune, I was like, holy crap, this is crazy, because it reminds me of a really old Foo Fighters song. The way Dave Grohl sung it, the way he's got that, it's almost like a pent up energy in his voice. And you had this, and it sounded like, I was like, listen, you need to listen to this song by Dave Grohl, because this is you in 3 years. There's no doubt. You know, it's fun. I don't do hardly anything musical anymore. I mean, I definitely sit around and play in my house, but as far as performing, I just don't do anything. So I lived through him. I lived through you, man.
You mentioned great songwriting, and you guys had a song, Inside Out, which was your single and top 40 hit. It was also in a TV show. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because you guys also made a cameo in that TV show, right?
Yeah, I use Dave's quote all the time. It was like taking a field trip inside your television. Because I was a huge fan of Smallville for season 1, and we were on season 2. The crazy thing about being on a show or getting too close to a show is that you'll lose interest. I never watched season 3 through 10. It was 10 seasons of Smallville.
Yeah, I never did either. I think I only saw our episode.
I watched season 1 like crazy, and I watched season 2, and I saw us on it and all that good stuff. But then I just lost interest completely, because I knew all the folks. I had met all these people. And then we heard about what's-her-face and the crazy sex cult and all that crap. I was like, damn, I'm glad I didn't get any closer to her. So,
all right, no, you got to go a little deeper there.
Yeah. Well,
Google it. It's out there.
The one guy I wanted to really meet. I wanted to meet Boduke. Was that the dad?
The blonde guy.
Was it Luke Duke? No, it's Boduke. It was Boduke. Yeah, so Dave is a Schneider guy.
Yeah.
The only guy I really, really, really wanted to meet was Schneider, and I didn't get to meet him. I got to meet the guy from Smallville. What's his name? The guy that played Clark.
Yeah, didn't you spill coffee on him?
I spilled coffee on Clark.
You got to meet him. I was
like, oh God, oh there he is. Oh crap! And he was sitting.
Don't do anything stupid.
Don't do anything stupid. So I just went up to him. You know, we had just done our little stupid scene, and we came up, and I was like, hey man, I'm a real fan, and I stuck out my hand, and he shook my hand, and I accidentally spilled a drop of coffee on his freaking jeans, and I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. He goes, I got other pairs. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And I walked away, and he wore that freaking pair of jeans in this shot. And I was like, damn it.
Nice.
If anybody see that,
nice.
It was fun.
John Snyder's super talented.
Yeah.
Is he?
Just did a record produced by Bob Bullock.
Wow.
Really?
In Nashville.
I did not know
really
that.
Great record.
Holy crap. I'm going to have to look at that.
Oh yeah, no, it is an amazing sounding record. It really is.
That is freaking great.
Have you ever heard of a band called Lucius?
Yeah.
Lucius?
I've heard of Lucius.
There's these these two lead singers basically, and they sing in unison, and they also harmonize with each other.
They look like sisters.
Yeah, they look like twins. They did backup singing for Roger Waters on his last tour.
Yeah,
you know, they had like the little blonde bob hairdos. They're my thing now. For some reason, over the years, my taste in music has acquiesced a little bit, so it's not just all Tool all the time, you know. And so I got hooked on Marina and the Diamonds for a while, and now Lucius, and I'll come home and I'll play him, and like my dog could get hit in the street and I wouldn't cry because like I'm broken in that way, but I'll listen to Lucius and I'm just like, what is going on?
They do have that thing, man. When they harmonize, it's like they hit this note. Yeah. They just hit this emotional note, and it's weird. When you sent me that video, I must admit, even though I was just like, okay, this is just something Dave sent me, it was weird listening to them because they were so damn good. So Lucius, everyone should listen to Lucius.
Everyone should listen to Lucius.
Everyone should at least give it a shot because it's deep music.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out too. Let me ask you a question about the cover art here.
Yeah, man.
So, did you have say in that?
I had some say.
We've lost Vaughan.
It was the people at Elektra, and they had made that patch and they weathered it. And
I actually own that patch. I own that patch. Yes. And I can't find it. I can't find the freaking patch.
I have like one that they didn't weather, but I've got one on my little messenger bag thing.
Yeah, I've got the one that they weathered, but it like fell down into my thing back here. Yeah. So yeah, they put that together, and it was the weathering and the cool patch feel that I kind of was like, okay, yeah, I can deal with that. Even though I had no say in the thing above it and the thing below it, they thought it was too much of a Aerosmith / Van Halen / they didn't want it to be on its own like this.
Right.
They didn't want it to be just that. And so I again, man, I am not an astrology guy, but I do like to keep things kind of level and cool. So I just said, yeah, I love it. You know?
No, it is definitely a cool patch. I like it a lot.
It is a cool patch.
You know, if I had it in my house, I wouldn't have lost it.
Yeah, it's down here, man. It just fell down in the thing. I got to tell you about this, man.
Oh, yeah. The ovation there.
This entire ovation thing, the thing that's holding it, my wife, she made it for me. But this guitar, bro, this guitar hung.
He's touching it.
In the Hard Rock Cafe for about 5 or 6 years. It hung under Nirvana, the big Nirvana poster. It's almost impossible to get these things out of hock, but my wife found the guy that oversees the vault, and his wife was friends with her, and she got her in touch with the vault guy, and this is Miss Louise. When my grandmother died,
play a song. You're going to get charged by SAG for this, by the way.
It's worth it.
So Miss Louise, man, was picked up by the remember the Shebopaloola? Do you remember that show? We opened for the Bare Naked Ladies on She 100.3.
Oh yeah.
It was a great big festival. And that was the day that they took this guitar and put it in the Hard Rock Cafe, and it disappeared. It went from Orlando for 5 years, and then it went to Atlanta for a little while, and then they put it away in the vault. And my wife got it out of hock and gave it to me for my 50th birthday. Miss Louise. Awesome. Isn't that cool?
It is awesome.
And she made this entire stand, and it's got modern stuff, and there she is getting it out of the vault, and there's me and Dave playing at the Hard Rock. Here's me and Dave playing at the with our dad at the freaking Floribama. That was the very beginning, man. That was back in 1989 or 90. I mean, we're talking like she took the gamut of history of Vonray and she put it in that thing. So you can tell I'm very, very, very proud of her I can't believe she got it. Nobody gets their shit back
it.
from Hard Rock Bro.
That's funny. No, I talked to the guy that runs the operations for Hard Rock just about a month ago. If I had known that, I would have brought that up.
Wow. Yeah. So it's hard to get stuff back, man. I mean, there's different vaults all over the country, and just so happens it was in the right vault, and she was able to get it. So she got it. She got a thing, posted it on the back of this thing of the number and all that stuff, when she got it out and all that. It's pretty cool. I'll take that to the grave, man.
All right. We talked about your wife doing fabulous things. We talked about some of these engineers and the people who've done your artwork and so forth. Let's talk about somebody who's worked behind the scenes that doesn't normally get recognized. Do you have anybody who's critical to your path?
I got somebody, Vaughn. Remember Trace at Master Labs?
Ooh.
Wasn't he like the pivotal dude in the earliest days?
He mastered everything we did. Trace,
he was like the jet shiner.
Yeah, he would take everything we recorded.
He was the OG Chris Lord-Alge.
He literally was, man. He lived right there on like Lake Ivanhoe or something like that, right downtown area. And
like
every time I'd go down there, he was kind of a goth guy. Remember, he was kind of goth. He was very strange, and I never know how I felt when I walked into his place and I was like, "Hey, man, will you master this for me?" Trace, man, I haven't thought about him in forever. Yeah,
so go ahead.
I agree, man. In the early years, he literally made us sound good. Everything that Matt Alvers had and gave to a radio station or anything like that, Trace had his hands on.
I wonder if he's still around.
I wonder, man.
If you're hearing this.
Yeah. Hey, Trace. What's up, man? That is crazy. I haven't thought of him in a long time, but I remember how weird I felt. He never was home until after like 11 o'clock at night. I'd be like, "Hey, man, can I drop these recordings off to you?" He'd be like, "Yeah, man, I won't be home till after midnight." I'm like, what? Damn, dude.
Like morning for him.
I know. It's like, I don't know, man.
That's too funny. How about you, Vaughn? You get anybody non-musical?
Man, I tell you, man, Ma Rae, she was the one that she was a pivotal point in our belief system in ourselves. Don't you think, Dave?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We would do shows. I remember doing stuff by myself, and then Dave came in and started doing duo stuff. And then Ma Rae just kind of came in and started doing small stuff at first. And then she literally managed us for like 5 years, 7 years. It was just on and on she went. She saw us through Harrington. She saw us right into the days of Jeff Hansen. Yeah. And then she unwillingly handed us off, Yeah. It was a labor of
pivotal.
love.
The earliest pivotal point for me was Vaughn and I were living together at this apartment at the Greens. Remember that?
Yeah,
and he was already playing. He'd come down from college and he was already playing, and we're living together, and I'm just bored to tears because all he does is just sit there and play his guitar. And so Mom bought me a bass so I could play with him. She was my enabler.
Awesome, man. So Mom bought you one bass and I bought you another bass. Do you still have the bass I bought you?
It's right there on the wall.
There it is, man.
That's funny you mentioned that one.
Jazz.
I remember when you gave him that bass. That's the 5-string, right, Dave?
Yes.
And we were sitting in Sapphire, as a matter of fact, and you were trying to string it up. And I remember we were sitting there stringing that bass for what I assume was the first time you were doing it.
Yeah.
Dude, Jay, I love you, man. You've been there since the beginning, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
And we were talking about bad memories. I have a bad memory, and I remember that like it was yesterday.
Wow. That's great. That is great. There's certain things that stick with you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember picking that bass out for Dave.
Yeah. That was awesome.
He's going to freaking love
this. Best gift I've ever gotten.
It was a pivotal time in your life, man. So it was like, that was like a kind of a push-up point there, because you took that thing and just did monster shows.
Yeah.
Just crazy how good you
relict.
You became
it's cool
so
to see
good.
like all these like custom shop guitars that are like artificially relict. They like make them look like somebody has toured all over the country with it.
That one
that's manually relicked right there.
That's right. That's so cool, man. That is so cool. This has been like just a bunch of friends all hanging out. Thank you, Jay.
So much inside ball. I wonder if anybody's still
totally.
listening.
Yeah,
who's
everybody's
even
like,
getting it at this point?
What the hell are they talking about?
Remember that one time at the Waffle House?
That Sapphire, when we were doing that bass, in between set, the two of us would walk across the street and check out the other bands that were playing around.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
That
awesome.
is so cool, man. That was a good time.
But hey, before we wind up the show, tell me what's going on now. Dave, what do you got going on in your life?
I'm still working at the law firm in Oklahoma City called Phillips Murrah. I've been there for almost 10 years now.
Marketing, right?
Marketing director. It's the best place I've ever worked. Best people I've ever worked with. Sorry, Vaughn.
And they love you, man. I love that they love you, dude.
This job is so perfectly suited for my skill set, and it's something that lawyers lack. So they're glad that I'm there, and I'm glad that I'm there, and it pays great, and everybody. I mean, it's amazing. It's like I don't know. It's sort of like how I felt with the band. I felt like God just felt sorry for me and was like, let's give this dude another break.
Let's give him something.
It's kind of a creative outlet for you. That's
totally creative. Yeah.
That's the coolest thing about it. You are the creative voice of that entire organization. That's great.
It's cool. And I'm writing stuff on the side, learning how to produce music. My 18-year-old son is the best drummer I've ever played with. And he's recording with me. So he's on my records and stuff.
Dude, he is amazing.
Yeah. I've got to admit, he's so good. He's good. I've been sharing stuff with him I send him little things on YouTube all the time now.
And watching him develop has been amazing.
Yeah. That's got a lot to say about Dave, though. I mean, he definitely kind of pulls from you, man.
Yeah. I give them this giant room to play in, but they do it, and they've got the benefit of what we never had, which is YouTube. Yeah. And they can search up, any tutorial or anything, and they can learn. Like my younger boy, Cash, who's 4 years younger than Campbell is. I walk in here one time and he's playing that acoustic over there, and he's had already learned how to play Wish You Were Here. And I'm like, well, damn, hang on a second. I grabbed that Strat and and play the lead to it while he's playing. It was awesome.
That is awesome.
They're good.
How about you, Vaughn? What do you got going on?
My real passion right now is knife making. I make custom handmade knives. Been doing that for a little while.
He's been doing that a long while.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm going to put the pedal to the metal soon and be able to do more of it. This one right here is yours. So that's the one that you're going to end up with. It's going to have a hell of a handle on it. So
yeah, don't drop it.
I've got your name on that one. But yeah, man, I do a lot of playing around the house. I'm teaching a couple of kids, young kids, guitar. They love it. It's a lot of fun teaching little kids because they're sponges, and it's a lot to do with who's teaching them as far as how they pick up in the next week. If they've learned a lot, you're doing something, because little kids are just like, if the person that they're not listening to is not interesting, or they don't like them enough, they won't do anything. That they won't even pick the guitar up. So I got a couple of students that I love a lot.
That's awesome. If people want to find your knives, where can they find them?
It's actually facebook.com VR Knives. This is the one I made for my wifey.
So don't give anything to my wife. She watches too many murder shows.
That's a crazy knife, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a...
it looks bent or something.
It's bent on purpose, Mug. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of knife that'll go out and search and find its enemies. That's what Dad used to call it. It was a Chris, right? Chris?
Yeah.
The one with the crazy blade. The Persians, they would put like a hex on it, and they'd go out and find their enemies and kill it for them. So yeah, my wife liked it, so I can't sell it. So it's hers.
Nice. Dave, sir, do you have any final words for us?
Well, it's been really nice talking with you guys, especially Vaughn and I. I mean, we text each other like all the time.
All the time.
We don't get to talk like this, and I don't get to see his face. So this is nice.
Yeah.
We should do this maybe even without Jay sometimes.
I can't wipe the smile off my face, man. I to be able to just go on and blather about this stuff. I don't talk about this subject very often, and to be able to do it because somebody asked me to do it is just a smiley event.
Especially someone who was there the whole time.
I know, man.
Back in the day.
Crazy.
Be careful, or I'll ask you to come back.
One day.
All right, Vaughn, any final words for us?
Man, I don't know. I just appreciate you, Jay. I appreciate you asking us to do this. You've got quite a thing going on. I hope this goes on. I really hope that the entertainment end of it just keeps on going, because you've got a good way with people. I've enjoyed myself, so thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you guys being the first to come on this show. That means a lot to me. It means more than you'll ever know.
Thanks.
Wow. Now that was awesome. They truly are rock stars in every sense of the word. A big thanks to Vaughan and Dave for taking the time to join us tonight. And thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. You can find links to everything mentioned at jayfranze.com/episode1. You can also find an uncut and uncensored copy of this episode on our YouTube channel. We do stream all shows, so make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franze Show. Make sure you visit us at jayfranze.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.